it was a lot to take in, not having been involved in the Gundam universe for a number of years now.
Right.
So I was just telling James before you jumped on that I can't
Yeah.
even imagine the overwhelmment that he feels getting introduced to so many characters, the world building.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's a lot.
Yeah, to me it was all brand new. So
Yeah, like the show's been going on for I think it's been almost 50 years now. Like I think
wow.
Yeah.
nineteen
Like the
seventy nine. Yeah.
original Gundam. Yeah.
Yeah, the original series, and it's branched into so many different stories and franchises, but like the core of it is mostly the same, where it's like
Yeah.
classism going on, where it's like you have people who live on Earth and they have more power than the people who live in space, and there's like that was always the thing that and like obviously the cool like the big battle suits and they're all, beating each other up, which is always, if you're like 5 years old and you're seeing that for the first time, that just is permanent. That's like core memory achieved right there.
It's so true.
The
Even
thing
at
that
my age,
always
still like that.
interested me about Gundam is was that it was one of the only few shows that was so heavily into politics.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And, watching it as a kid, yes, you are, obviously watching it for the Gundams, but I was always
Mm.
curious as to why I didn't really fully understand what the heck was happening all the time.
Yeah.
Because there are so many organizations and
Hmm.
government bodies that and as a kid, you're like, I don't understand any of this.
I'm glad you brought that up because that I think it really makes you come back to it with a deeper lens. So I mean this is obviously with the dawn of YouTube and everything. There's this YouTube channel called Gundam Info, and they have like a lot of the entire series is just on YouTube, and you can watch them all over again. And it allowed me to kind of rewatch both Gundam Seed as well as Gundam Seed Destiny, and allowed me to kind of reappreciate them and like all the little nuances going on. Now with like an older, being much older than I was when I first watched it, being like, oh, I just remember like vague bits of it. But now watching it again, you're thinking, oh my God, like, so this was going on and this is what could have happened. And even like going deeper into it, like the only reason the Seed series did so well was because it was the show's response to it was a post 9/11 world. So how are we going to discuss it? And it really tagged a lot of these big points, like, there was these coordinator people, and then there was the naturals, and it was either you were extremely to one side or extremely to the other side. And it was just going to create natural sense of conflict, much like what was going on um, at the time with the war in the Middle East. And it just a lot of really great parallels. I'm looking at it from like my line of work, so I'm like, oh, this is so cool. So
Yeah.
yeah. So James, what was your first
Oh
thoughts of it?
man.
Like, because you're watching it and be like, I've
Completely
never
brand
seen
new.
Gundam.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, it was all completely brand new.
Okay.
And it was like so much to take in. Like there's so much happening, especially the
Mhm.
beginning. I felt the beginning was super fast compared to like the middle and well, the end got fast again too. But at the beginning, there's just like so much introduction of like all the different characters. Like obviously the a bit of the difference between the naturals and the coordinators or whatever, and just
Mhm.
like all the characters and then like their own like little like stories, a little bit of their stories or their love stories or whatever.
Yeah.
A little bit of the background there, and then just like speeding through all like the action scenes at the beginning, the big first action scene. It was like
Yeah.
just like I just saw it
It
like this is crazy. There's so much going on.
oh
And then it got I thought I couldn't beat it. And then at the end though, when it was like
oh
the main
yeah.
group and then like the what was the bad guys or whatever,
Foundation.
the
Foundation.
Foundation.
foundation guys. And then it was like cutting between all of them, and I was just like losing track of who was who. And I was so confused.
Yeah,
But
it's
it was fun to watch though. Like no matter
mm.
what, there was so much going on. But
Oh yeah, it's like it was it's batshit crazy, but it's
yeah,
very much a love letter to like it's like if you watch the series beforehand, like that's the one
yeah,
thing I should have warned you. Like give yourself like there's like tons of videos out there
yeah,
explaining the show, like okay, this is what happens and this, then this, and this, and then it's like okay, like I kind of understand what's going on. Like
yeah.
yeah, that's the one benefit
I
of it. Like I
definitely should have
mean,
warmed up to it. Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say maybe warm up a little bit to it. Did you guys watch the sub version or the dub?
We watched
So we had
the
the
subtitle version.
subtitles. Yeah,
Okay, okay. So we're gonna have a couple differences here. So,
Oh, do you have
because this is
the
something
dub one?
I want to talk about a lot about you with, because when I went to go see it, the only offering they had was the dub version.
Really?
So
Oh,
they
no way.
changed all the voice actors from
Okay.
the original series.
Oh,
So, Stefano, you'll understand this a lot. Why that's so? It's actually really it's a really integral piece when it comes to discussing like voice acting in Japanese, but like a lot of they sound so different. Like one
uh,
thing they say it was like becoming a running joke throughout the movie, but like the voice actor, all the voice actors they refer to the plain pink hair girl Lacus. They call her Lacus. They're like Lacus,
oh
Lacus.
no.
And in the show, in the original dub, they always called her Lacus. They're like,
Lacus.
oh, it's
Yeah,
Lacus, it's
Lacus. Yeah.
Lacus. And people were like, what the hell? And the reason for that, I had to do some of my own digging, and it was because the company, Bandai, or I believe it was Bandai or Sunrise,
Hmm.
Sunrise, I
um,
believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, so they had a lot more say on who could be the voice actors, and they did not want the
Mm,
original voice actors back. They said they kind of
Interesting.
in their eyes they butchered the pronunciation of the characters' names, they Americanized them too much, and which
oh,
sucks because it's so ingrained in like this is how you pronounce them,
yeah.
and it became sort of like a running thing, like and even like when they pronounce Kira's name, it's Kira Yamato. It's in the dub they say Kira Yamato
Yamato.
piloting
Oh
in
my
this, and
God.
it's like, oh, come on. Um, but yeah, that was a big one. Like, was the voice acting for me. Like, I wish I could show you because I feel like we'd get a copyright strike if I showed you if we kind of pulled a clip from like the
We can try
Yeah.
version
to find
what they
one. We can
show
see if
you
we can
and
find
then
one
the difference.
after. Yeah.
But if you watch if you watch the original like dub and you like compare, like it's totally night and day. And
Interesting.
but like it kind of grows on you. Like some of them were really good. Like Shin's voice actor for the dub was fantastic. I really liked
Okay.
him. The guy who did Mula Flaga, he pilots the Gold Machine,
Hmm.
Yeah.
James the Akatsuki in the
Yep.
end.
Yep.
He very good job.
Okay.
I think the worst of them all was Atherin's because he sounded like a Shakespearean actor, whereas like he's like I
It's
couldn't even
not.
describe it to you. It's like we have to go pilot this machine now. It's like there when he's piloting that big like gunky big thing, the
Yeah.
Zagok, he's like piloting the Zagok, launching now. It's like what's going on here? This isn't. I don't know. It was just like a lot of this was like going on when a lot of facepalm moments were going on there. But going back to the sub thing, the voice acting thing. So in Japanese culture, especially in like in terms of anime and productions
Hmm.
like that, they never replace voice actors. It's very ingrained into your culture. If like you don't replace the voice actor, period.
Yeah.
If you can't replace the voice actor, the character's not coming back, period. A big example would be like in the Pokemon animated series before they rebooted it with Horizons and the new characters when because Ash has gone through so many iterations of some companions and whatever. For May, for
Yeah.
example, from the Advanced series when he was traveling through Hoenn, the girl with
Yeah.
like the bandana,
Hmm.
Yeah.
um she had like a very serious voice and she still does. So she's retired from voice acting. They could never bring her
Okay.
back.
Ah.
A lot of the fans were like, please bring her back, please bring her back. And they said no, because she can't do it anymore. So they brought her back as a cameo where she doesn't speak, but
Okay.
no speaking.
Yeah.
This is the only time I think I've ever heard of it where a voice actress was replaced, and that was for Kigali's voice actress. 'Cause I don't know if you follow, like there was some drama stuff, on like behind the scenes with Gundam Seed Destiny with the voice actress and the director Fukuda, and
Interesting. I
it
didn't
got to
know
the
this.
yeah, it actually changed the trajectory of the show. So if you notice, like she's in the show less and less and less
Yeah.
as the
Okay.
show goes on. She's not, and to the point where it's like, and the character was written so poorly that it got to the point where like voice actor was like, I'll never come back to Gundam again. This was a terrible experience, and they had to find a brand new voice actress because her role was somewhat integral to the plot in various ways that you got to watch the movie to kind of understand. And she's like, oh wait, we get it now. Um, but yeah, that's my 5 minute spiel. That's my 5 minute spiel on this movie. I mean, I loved it, but yeah.
I thought, yeah, we got I guess, all the Japanese voices, and even I don't know if the screening you had, but the screening at TIFF, the beginning, we had at the Lightbox, they had the director talking about the movie for a bit, where they gave
Hmm.
questions,
Yeah.
and then it was the voice actors
Mhm.
for the main characters there, and then they were like doing a quick like kind of thank you and
Yeah,
about
no,
it, which was kind of cool.
we had ours had that too. It was
Oh
very
yeah, that's
like
cool. I love
I was
that.
like
Yeah,
yeah, I was like it was so many commercials and I'm like, okay, like can I like can this movie start now? Because I know it's like a 2 hour movie, but yeah, no, it was fantastic. I mean, aside from that, I had a good feeling about it
Mhm.
going into, but I had like seen spoilers, so I was like, you know what, like we can I think this movie we you can definitely talk spoilers
Yeah,
a little bit. So
yeah. I'm not worried about talking
yeah.
spoilers.
So
We can
what were
definitely
your
spoiler chat it.
what were your overall thoughts on this?
Stephanie, want to go first? You want me to talk about my original thoughts?
Uh, Honestly, I'm very interested to hear yours coming from someone who
Yeah,
has never seen anything from Gundam, who
yeah.
has no
My
knowledge. So what did you think as a complete outsider to the franchise?
Yeah, definitely as brand new to it all. Obviously I thought the best part was just the crazy action. It was just so wild and intense and so much going on. And it was fun, like just keeps you like constantly engaged. I think anybody watching it would just like if you're just there for the action, it would keep you engaged. But I still like the fact that there was all the other stuff like behind the scenes, like the side stories, and then like the funny parts about like the love triangles and stuff like that between all the different characters and like the new characters. I thought that was fun itself. And then just the the fact that I found, even though there's like a lot of crazy action and stuff where it seems like, well, for me, it seems like it's all over the place because I'm new, but
Mhm.
um, but I like that they always try to like center it still with like a lot of the characters either having like very um like good like meaningful lines or like a little speech that's like meaningful and there's like heart behind it.
Mhm.
I think that probably goes with a lot of Japanese like work where there's a good message behind a lot of it. So you could see that it was like still brought up like throughout the film in different aspects, and I thought that was great as well. Like it gives you a little bit, it gives you a little bit of everything. It gives you like a little bit of the drama from like the relationships and obviously all the different characters intermingling because there's so many. There's the crazy
Mhm.
action, and then there's still like a good meaning behind it as well, which is like positive kind of at the end of the day, even though there's complete and utter destruction throughout the entire movie. But yeah, that's kind of just like my initial thoughts. I thought it was like still really good, like overall, like pretty easy to watch. Like it flew by because there was so much happening. I really liked the like middle part where it kind of, for me, it kind of slowed down and they
Mhm.
were able to dig a little more into the plot and the individual characters.
Okay.
And I felt that that was done really well. So I can imagine, like, obviously I didn't watch the show, but I can imagine a show where it has like more time to explore all those
Mhm.
types of conversations is probably really good because they clearly can do that type of dialogue really well. And it's not just like all about the crazy action. There is a lot of effort put into the dialogue to make it feel like authentic and real and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
yeah, I liked it like
Yeah.
that.
So I went into this movie with obviously you know knowledge on Gundam. I've grown up with Gundam, but it has
Mhm.
been a while since I've really sat down. The last series I watched, I actually rewatched Gundam Wing, like maybe I'm gonna
Oh,
say it
Okay.
2 years ago or something like that.
nice.
Yeah.
And so my previous knowledge up until going into this movie was Gundam Wing, which has nothing to do with this story really.
Mhm.
So I didn't also catch myself up. I didn't watch any catch up videos or anything like that. So as much as I know the characters, I grew up with Kira watching Gundam Seed, and Shin and the whole crew. I still had to play catch up a little bit myself, so I knew James would be completely overwhelmed with the amount
Yeah.
of knowledge being thrown at you because I felt it too. I'm like, holy, there's actually quite a bit,
Yeah.
and
They still did it pretty well considering
they did,
how
yeah,
much they
Yeah.
threw at me. I was still able to consume like the
Yeah.
majority of it, still like on the different like organizations and how it's kind of like structured with the different
Mhm.
planets and worlds and Earth and stuff like that.
you,
So
you can't write you can't write anything in a way that excludes a no potential viewer. You have to
yeah,
write it in a way that reintroduces you to the characters,
right.
regardless of what movie you are jumping in or what
Mhm.
series you're jumping in from.
Yeah.
So even though it was just because of the amount of characters
Mhm.
and organizations that are involved, and now this being like 20-year-old 20-year-old series, 20-year-old plus series.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's just way too much to talk about. But I
Yeah.
still think they did a good job of reintroducing us to the characters.
Mhm.
For someone like James who's walking in here,
Hmm.
experiencing it for the first time. My favorite parts as well, similar to James, were the middle bunch, little portion of the movie where it was much more grounded, much more plot driven. The opening scene, it was so immersive and overwhelming, the amount of action.
Hmm.
And I said to James, I'm like, whoa, like when we watched the director intro and he said we put everything we had into this movie, I'm like, damn, they really demonstrated that just with this opening
Hmm.
sequence. I'm like, that was so insane.
Hmm.
um the Gundams, for me, I do wish some of the action sequences did have a little bit more distinguished moments between the different Gundams,
Yeah.
because sometimes you can get lost understanding which one is who.
Yeah,
I have that
for
comment
sure.
also regarding the pilot gear, because growing up with Gundam Wing as my
Hmm.
first intro, my first series, I made a joke actually to James saying, it's funny what, like, thinking about Gundam Wing and the fact that they were in these cockpits with no armor, no nothing.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah, you said the
understand,
one guy had a
yeah,
tank top or
he had a
what? Like
tank
just
Yeah.
top.
typical.
Yeah. Hero.
You're
That was his name.
so
His name was
funny.
literally Hero. And I'm like,
Hero. It's so funny why, like, thinking about it now, like, I understand the need for the pilot gear and whatnot, but it did help you under, like, really distinguish between the pilots
hmm.
and who's in what cockpit.
Right.
Because watching this movie and you have 20 pilots and everyone has a similar gear, it was sometimes a little difficult to
Yeah.
understand who was where.
Yeah, I can see why you say that. Like it does get a little bit messy um in certain aspects. I mean, I remember like and when they were doing that introduction, the director was saying the first battle sequence is a love letter to Gundam as an entire saga, as a big series,
Mhm.
whereas the final battle is a love letter to specifically Gundam Seed. And
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
these little like nuanced moments where I'm like, this happened already, this happened, this was literally pulled from a whole other series. Like I
Mhm.
know it was these cool little moments. I think the one thing, because I'm gonna be the devil's advocate here. I think the one piece I wish, and this is kind of the constraint of a movie, especially a movie of an existing IP like Gundam, or in this case specifically Gundam Seed, is that I felt like there lacked a bit of exposition, especially with when developing the villains, like the Foundation.
Yeah.
They really didn't go into much detail. When the movie first came out in Japan, I was like trying to like I was reading a little bit about it. I'm like, okay, so like who are these characters? So, because spoiler, they're referred to in the movie. I don't know what they referred to them in the sub, but in the dub they are referred to as Accords, and they were
Yeah.
like super coordinators or something. And that Lacus herself is an Accord, and
Yeah.
Kira is like a failed Accord or something. And they didn't really go into detail with that, and I felt like that could have been a lot better explained in the script and in the story itself. I didn't it's kind of like you have to kind of figure it out and leave it to your own devices. Where for someone who doesn't, like someone like James, for example, like what the hell's
Yeah.
going on? I don't understand
Yeah.
this. This like what's
Yeah.
like why does this guy have powers? Why does this guy like what's going on here? That's I think my one single gripe with the film. If they had maybe spent a little more time like explaining like why is the main villain like she's a child, but like 19 years ago she's like a full grown adult.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but you know what I mean? Like I'm
Yeah.
just I
Same
don't
with
know.
the Destiny plan.
Mhm.
I know it's obviously a continuation, a story element, and it obviously heavily ties into the characters
Yep.
and the politics. But someone like
Mhm.
James, coming in, he has no idea what this Destiny plan is, and they're referencing it so many times in the movie.
Yeah.
Um, and it's
Do
just
you
kind
know
of,
what the Destiny plan is, James? Like, has
I
that been
had no
explained to you?
idea. I just
Okay.
figured it was something about figuring out world peace or some way,
So
shape, or form.
so
And
so the Destiny plan, it was something that it was introduced in Gundam Seed Destiny. And do you remember like the guy they show flashbacks, the long black hair?
yeah.
So he was the leader of like the space group. His name is Gilbert Durandal. So
Okay.
his whole thing was he wanted to create this thing where he created a super weapon, which they showed in the movie, the Requiem.
Mhm.
And it was essentially the way the Destiny plan worked was that like you would get checked, your genetics would get checked on birth,
Oh,
and they would tell you what you would do with your life, and that was what you were gonna do. Like you
oh, okay. They
couldn't
did mention
like
that. Yeah.
yeah, like for me, say for example, it's like my genetics say, oh, you're going to be um I don't know, like a radio producer, but I work
Yeah.
in it, but you can't, so, but you have to only be a radio producer. You can only do that now.
Right.
So, because like his gripe with it was like that was how it worked in the place and they live in spaces called the plants,
Hmm.
and they and like he fell in love with this woman and she rejected him because the space people had very low birth rates and they had to basically say you have to marry this person who you have the highest birth rate with. That was
Uh,
actually something else I wish they kind of pulled back to.
mhm.
I don't know if you remember, Stefano, like in the original series at the end of Gundam Seed Destiny, do you remember Arthur? He was the captain of the Millennium in this movie.
Yeah.
So he had a in the dub he had the British accent. He promised at the end of at the end of the series, like I'm gonna see his previous supervisor or CO Tally's like I'm gonna see your son and we're gonna and they never show that. I wish they got to show that in the film, but they didn't. And but that was where was I going with this? I lost my train of thought.
The
This is like
Destiny
why
plan.
this is
We
why you
started
write
with the
scripts.
Destiny plan. We started
Yeah,
with the
Destiny
Destiny
plan.
plan.
So, yeah, she has this kid, and it's like you see little pictures of him, and never see him
Mm,
again. Like there's these little like nuanced things where I wish they could have connected, but
right.
again, constraints of time, you can't see it, and they
So many
expect you to know what the
characters.
Destiny plan is. They expect you to know what this machine is, and this happens, and they expect like all these 15 different things, which
Yeah.
yeah, like there's something actually very interesting. Something very interesting I read recently from you guys been watching the X-Men series on Disney Plus, the new
I
one?
haven't yet,
Yeah,
but I
I'm
think
on
Stefano has.
episode like I think 6, 7, something like that. I'm a couple episodes behind.
Okay, so I don't want to spoil it for you. So the old showrunner for this series, he said when you deal with an existing IP to create something new, like this series, for example, you have to do a very sort of delicate fence walk where on one side you don't want to like how did he word this? You don't want to like basically create your own vision because then you'll upset your fan base. But on the other side, you don't want to play karaoke and just do like exactly what it's originally based on because
Hmm.
then you're gonna bore your viewers. So
For
that's I
sure.
think was what was going on a little bit with the movie. Like I think Des Freedom catered a little bit heavily more to the karaoke bits, especially near the end,
Hmm.
because like with previous Gundam movies, like they were very experimental and people were very upset by them. Like the very first Gundam movie, Char's Counterattack, upset so many people. Like to this day, it's still one of the most talked about anime films, and this is from 1986. People still
Yeah.
go like, "Oh my God, the endings." They weren't happy with the ending because, spoiler alert, the main character dies, and it's like they don't explain it. They're like, no one knew he died until like the late 2010s in a whole other series, and it's a mess. And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's a very tricky balance to get on. But yeah, sorry. We went from Destiny Plan to like something else.
No, that's fair.
But yeah, so there's a lot of pieces that are you kind of have to get explained. And then once they explain them to you, then you're like, "Oh, I get it. This is what's going on. I understand now." So maybe we should take a bit of time to explain like a couple of things to James so he's like, "Okay, I get it now. Like I'm understanding this movie a little bit more." Should we do that? I think that would be a more fair.
Yeah, yeah, I
Would
think
that be
so.
more fair? Should
Yeah.
we do that with you, James?
Definitely, well, definitely won't hurt.
Okay.
From
Okay.
what, yeah. My
So
my biggest thing is
what
just I understand like the differences and I guess the different people. I understand a little bit of the differences between like how the Gundam, I guess, teams set up to be like the peacekeepers, and then like there's conflict obviously between the different states and stuff like that. I get a
Mhm.
little bit of all the stuff that's going on, but I'm sure
Okay.
there's like bigger things at play that
So what were some stuff that you were like, I don't understand this at all. I'm just gonna like, yeah, cool. Like right on, man.
one of it was like why those like accords had like kind of like magical powers because nobody else had that. Like because they were able to
Uh
like put like a trance on them kind of thing, like
hmm.
hypnotism, or I don't even know what it was, like something like that, right? Like it was
Did
like they
they
did it with
explain?
Kira. They didn't
Yeah,
really.
so they explained it. I guess they explained it in the dub. I guess maybe I'm a little bit
They
too
may
harsh
have.
on.
It just could have
So
skipped past me.
oh, okay. So they said that they're basically they were the queen Ara,
Yeah.
she worked with Durandal, the guy with the black hair, and he before he became president of he went into politics, he was actually a geneticist and he actually worked
Hmm.
on several of the major villains in the series. So there's a guy, I don't know if you saw him in the flashbacks wearing a mask. Oh,
Yeah.
there's a little there I
Oh,
just
look at
created
that.
How
a
did
little
what
a
is
little
that?
emoji. Oh, I didn't realize I
Wow,
could do
that's
that
that
You
must
there.
be
can do that?
Zoom.
I didn't even
Wow.
know I could do that. That was the first time I've ever seen that.
That's
Um,
same. That's
That's
so
oh my
interesting.
interesting.
God.
That's so
So
funny.
he helped create some of like these clones because
Okay.
it's very deep, but they've basically the idea was the Earth Federation or certain groups in within the Earth, they didn't believe in genetically modifying
Right.
people. That's what coordinators were at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They were pulled out of their embryos, modified however
Hmm.
you wanted to see fit, and they were just better.
Yeah.
And
And the
such and
Accords are
so
like the
forth.
next version of that. That's the way I see
Yeah,
it.
that's
Right. Like,
exactly what it was. She basically like pushed the limits of it, and they had the ability to read minds. And they say in the movie like it's theoretically speaking, but it's
mhm.
proven they can actually mind control people. So that's what happened to
Yeah.
Kira in the movie. He got mind controlled. So I think
Yeah,
that
they
was
showed the
like
character that created what I forget the character's name, but I think she was saying she like helped create the coordinators and then also helped I guess the
yeah,
Accords. I think it was that
that
character. I
was her.
forget her name, but that was
That
the
was
one,
the
yeah.
queen girl. That was the
That was
little
yeah.
the teeny weeny kid,
Yeah, that's the one.
Aura,
Yeah. Yeah.
which again that was my one thing. Like, how did she go from like 30 something, however, to like you can sit on my lap, like, okay, let's read a story. Like I didn't get that part.
Mm.
Um, was there anything else that you were like, I don't like, I'm totally rocked, do not understand this, I'm lost.
Uh Honestly, just during the battles I felt lost, but that was more just like character knowledge because it was tough to like distinguish between some of them sometimes because some of them two of them typically look the same, like they'll have the
Yeah.
same similar color hair or whatever, so then I can't like differentiate sometimes. But
I can
you
see
like obviously
you.
know
I can
based
see
on
you like making not being able to distinguish between Kira and Shin when they're in their cockpits.
yeah, when they're in
Yeah,
the
that's a
Again,
big
that
cockpits, it's
goes
one.
back
so
to the
hard.
armor. Having a similar armor, having
Yeah.
Hmm.
a head, an actual helmet that covers all of their hair, and their hair is one of the reasons that like helps distinguish between the two of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like they do look very similar. But
Yeah, you can
that's
only
just
see like
anime
the
in
side.
general.
Yeah.
A lot of characters are drawn similar, and the things that make them different are their eyebrows or their hair.
Mhm.
Hmm.
That's like Goku and Vegeta and Gohan. Like they literally
Yeah.
are all drawn the same.
Yeah.
If you remove Vegeta's hairline, it's Goku. So
Oh my God, I didn't know that. I've never thought of it that way. Okay. Yeah. Okay,
yeah,
I
the
can
only
see
thing
that.
Easier
that's
to draw,
drawn
I
different
guess.
with Goku is the way his eye is drawn, like
Mm.
this.
Yeah, because it's a lot more like happy. Like there's more
Yeah,
of like a
Vegeta's is
positive
drawn a
face
little
to
bit
it.
more with a frown.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
But
But
all
yeah.
most anime, like once you have that one style, your characters are all drawn within that style. Males are
Mhm.
drawn one way, females are drawn another way with certain
Hmm.
characteristics. So yeah, that's why like again my complaint too. Like I know the characters, but you know them having all similar armors and not really distinguishing between them
Hmm.
is very difficult. I have the same honestly same complaint with like Attack on Titan because Attack on Titan everyone wears the same armor, same gear, and so many of them don't really have too many distinguishable characteristics that
Right.
it is hard. Like, yeah, obviously hair is different. Like Connie has different hair and whatnot. But when they're all in battle, it is so hard to distinguish between them
Okay.
sometimes.
I can see where you can relate to that. So like I'm a big fan of the Evangelion series,
Mhm.
and in the last Evangelion film, the final battle is between Shinji, the main character, and his father, and they're fighting in like essentially like a mirror copies of the exact same machine, and it's a big purple robot, and they're both holding spears. You can't tell which is which. Only like you can't. There's no the only way you can distinguish between the two of them is the spear that they're holding. And unless you're a fan, like a deep fan, you don't know
Yeah.
like what's the difference between these two things. And that's also problematic. But I can see why you'd get like confused because like Shin and Kira look very, very, very closely alike. Like I know when I first watched Destiny for the first time, I thought that was Kira I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound like him. And then it's like, oh, it's not. It's this other character. But they did change a few of the characters' designs. I mean, Marin's design looks completely different from you don't probably don't know who I'm talking about, James. Do you?
Which ones? I can't remember.
So Marin was the girl who was hacking the
Oh,
she was working with Atherin. So
yeah.
um so that's like sort of like a little play on joke among the fans because they all wanted like Marin to end up with Atherin because like
Hmm.
people ship characters in like romances just like any other like major franchise
Yeah.
here. And she used to have these big like red ponytails. So then like she eventually I think she deserted Zaft like midway through Destiny. Like she was kind of like pulled into into this whole thing.
Hmm.
And she looks so different from where I wouldn't have even recognized her had I not seen like stuff prior. And I'm like, oh, that's Marin. Like, how is she gonna be in the movie? But yeah, it was there's a few things where you're like, oh my God, wait a minute, hold up. The designs like they're a bit tricky to follow, but once you kind of figure out who's who, it's pretty like, okay, I know who this is, I know who this is. Um, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it
yeah.
definitely just comes down to like if I watched it and you have all the character knowledge and it'd be easier to differentiate, right? It's just one of those
Yeah,
things, just a
I would
lot at once for sure.
it is like I would suggest, I mean, like a lot of these, there's like so many websites. Just I would
Yeah.
suggest like Gundam Info on YouTube has the entire Seed series
Hmm.
on it has the entire thing like on YouTube for free. No ads, no you
That's
don't
pretty
not
good.
behind a
Oh,
paywall,
really?
nothing.
Huh.
They just took Seed Destiny down, which I'm
Okay.
very upset at, but like so be it. They'll put it back up again at some point, and it's again, it's got the entire thing beginning to end, the whole show. You could watch the whole thing, and it's there. What I want to know, I want to see if you guys would think this. What do you think? Do you think there's gonna be like a sequel? Do you think will we see a sequel to Gundam Seed Freedom? Because I feel like there's a lot of questions unanswered.
Series or movie?
Ooh.
I would I
But this
never
is
thought
supposed
of
to
it
be the
that way.
final movie, right? Or something of the installments or something. I was looking it up
Um,
that it's a
well,
final
yeah.
installment of the
So
movies or something.
there was this movie was supposed to be made in 2006, mind you.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah,
was
that's what he
like,
was
oh,
saying
we're
that,
gonna
yeah.
make it in like a year after Destiny, but it took
Hmm.
20 years to make for various reasons. Um, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, like,
Because
I think a
anime,
series
yeah, anime typically
better.
has like I know obviously every series is different, but there is like a somewhat of a structure
Hmm.
dating back all the way to like Pokemon era
Mhm.
where you release a movie, you have a series that follows. You release a
Right.
movie, you have a series that follows.
It's true.
You know, Dragon Ball does it. You know,
Hmm.
every new season of Dragon Ball Z,
Yeah.
you know, in the early 2000s and in the 90s had a movie that either followed or preceded it. So and it's going all the way into Super, right? We you get the Frieza movie and then the Frieza arc and then the Broly movie and then the Broly arc.
Right.
There is this kind of structure to anime reintroducing you. Obviously, not every franchise follows that structure, but all the big
Yeah.
ones
Yeah.
do.
Hmm.
So there is a possibility
Is
with
the
if the movie is successful globally, uh,
yeah.
Yeah.
that it could kickstart definitely a brand new series.
I was
Is
gonna
the
say like,
Accords brand new for this? Like, were the
yeah,
Accords ever mentioned before? Like, because that could be
never.
like for sure,
No,
like the next kind of
I think that
up
would
of
be a
something,
real.
right?
I think that would be a really cool. I also like would like to think of it as like think of the end of the movie. Like the new machine that Kira gets, the Mighty Strike Freedom. That
Mhm.
thing is
Yeah.
a fucking WMD on legs.
Yeah.
Like I don't think like they explain in the movie that that thing has like a literal like a miniature super weapon in its head.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, we're trying to we're peace. We're talking about peace." But buddy, you got like this, super nuke just walking around, waltzing around like nothing. How do you justify that? Like in a post, like I think that's such an interesting thing to explore. Like if you look at that idea and you build from there, because that was the whole premise of this movie was like what could we do to deal with like in the fandom calls Kira Jesus Yamato because the guy can never dies. Like he's just
Yeah.
like magically always surviving like shit that he shouldn't survive. And the whole premise was, what if we have evil cures? And that was the creation of like the Accords and the Black Knight Squad.
Hmm.
What if it's like now we have someone who's such an advocate for peace, but is quite literally has one of the most powerful weapons on earth at the palm, literally in the palm of his hands. How does the world react to that? What's
Yeah.
the story from there? That interests me a lot. I would love to see that possibly be relooked at. But they also said, Fukuda said, it's not really up to me to decide if another movie gets made. It all depends on how much money the movie makes, and it's made quite a lot of money. I think it's made $40 million in the past few months alone, so it's doing quite
Pretty good.
well.
It's pretty good.
Not like obviously not Marvel movie numbers
Yeah.
or DC movie numbers, but like very good numbers for Japan. I think it's the number one, the most profitable Gundam product, I think, period.
Wow.
So I don't think they're gonna do a series. I think they might they'd probably do a movie because they know they're gonna make more money with
They're
a
gonna make more
movie.
money off of it.
It's
Yeah.
shorter.
Yeah.
Probably way less
And
And
effort.
we were talking about this too, leaving the movie and, just before the movie that, when James was looking for tickets and he
yeah.
was telling me that, like, all the, obviously we're not dealing with, 10 screenings a day and,
Yeah.
that kind of
Yeah.
thing. But like the fact that people are going to support these movies that the average
Yeah.
person, would overlook,
Hmm.
there is an audience. It is becoming more popular.
Definitely.
Anime films are becoming more popular, in North America, and we're seeing people support movies and the theaters supporting it.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
theaters knowing that there is a growing fan base for anime and supporting them and actually purchasing them and showing them in theaters. And you can see that with so many movies being successful, like the last
Hmm.
Dragon Ball Super movie made over 100 million globally.
That was
uh
Broly, right?
the Broly movie. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. And that's just
That made a
a
killing.
few
Yeah. It's
years
definitely
ago.
getting bigger.
Even like movies like The Boy and the Heron has
Hmm.
done very well. So
Yeah.
there is a market for it. And I think we're going to see a lot more support, to
Yeah.
see
Even,
the fact that we saw a Gundam movie at the Lightbox is
yeah.
crazy to me.
I know.
I
And pretty big and bigger and one of the bigger
Oh,
screens.
really?
cinemas there. Yeah. It
Yeah.
wasn't, they usually have a couple like smaller ones, but this
Oh,
one
I
was
didn't
like a
know that.
legitimate
It
big
was
one.
it
Yeah.
was a big theater,
I think it's
right?
one of I think it's
Oh.
their biggest or second biggest or whatever.
I'm
But
regretting not going downtown to like watch it with you guys
it
because
was
I'm like, oh, I'm gonna just gonna go to the Colossus and near my house and like,
But
oh,
those ones are sold out. So all this, the ones
yeah.
when you sent it, it was all completely sold out because there's only a couple
Hmm.
screenings, right? So they were probably
Yeah.
wishing that they added more after
Hmm.
too, right? It's all profit.
They
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 probably
had
wish
a
they had a
couple
few.
tickets left at the Markham Cineplex at the Markham
Oh, okay.
VIP.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I think they had a few, but like it goes to what you said, like people wanted to see this movie, and it
yeah,
also shows it's not like I think there's this misconception where it's like if it's an animated movie, it's for kids.
yeah,
Yeah.
That is far from
yeah,
that couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah.
yeah,
Could not be further from the
for
truth.
sure.
I went to watch Civil
Yeah,
War and there was a trailer for Spy Family. I'm like,
Yeah,
this is nuts.
yeah. I remember because I went to see Civil War a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, what the hell? Like I just heard of Spy Family like maybe a month and a half prior, and I'm like, is this the what? And it's crazy because there is that market. People clearly are gonna do it. I think it, it's it's down to it's gonna happen, and I think the smart thing would be not just go beyond Crunchyroll. They're gonna go to streaming. I mean, they there's another Gundam movie coming. They announced it a few years ago. It's gonna be a Netflix exclusive movie.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
wow.
fully live action. Um, it's I'm pumped for it. We haven't heard anything in the past. I think there was like a couple of pressers that have come out like with images. But they haven't disclosed like what era it's gonna be in. Maybe it's a brand new era. We don't know. It's very either it's very tight-lipped right now, or maybe haven't started anything with it, but that's something I'm pumped for. I think if they want to see this movie do well, like Freedom specifically, they should put the whole series on, like, take it off of YouTube, take it off of free streaming YouTube, put it all on Netflix. You'll make
Oh, for
so much
sure.
more money. The streaming numbers will just skyrocket because especially because like a lot of people do, like, I know Netflix is really definitely they went deep post COVID into like anime because that's where a lot of their numbers were. Like now
Yeah.
look, they're doing like they're weekly putting up the brand new arc of One Piece on like what's the arc called? The one where they're on the island that's like the future island or something. I don't remember the name of it.
I
I'm
do
not.
not watch One Piece. I
Is that the one that has a
I can't
thousand?
get I can't dedicate the time as much like I it's probably incredible. I hear it's incredible. I cannot dedicate the time.
Are you
There's
gonna cover the live action? Because at least like if you cover the live
Yeah, the
action,
live
it's like
action, that's fine. Yeah,
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 that
because that's
yeah.
yeah,
like
because it's
a completely new, right?
There's over 1,100 episodes of One Piece
1100 episodes of One Piece. Yeah, no, thanks.
starting from
I'm good with my
1999.
I'm
Wow.
good with my 100 episodes in total of not even like 90 something odd episodes of Gundam Seed, and I'm gonna call it a day.
Yeah.
I can't do 1,000 episodes of TV. I'll crap. I'll no. Thanks,
We
There's
have a
not
Gundam.
buddy
enough
that we
time.
have a buddy that has watched it. Andrew watched it and caught up. He watched all like 1100 episodes in like I think it was
Holy,
like 4 months.
what?
Oh
That's
my
crazy.
God.
Yeah,
Did he
That's
like
a
not
lot
have
of
a
time.
job? Like
No,
what
he
did he
definitely works. He definitely has
yeah.
a full-time job.
so
Must have been
what
all
the
weekend. Must have been all
Oh
weekend
my
long or something.
God.
Yeah.
That's brutal. Because I'm trying. Okay, that's like 20
I
minutes
I'm
Or
shocked
maybe
that
episodes.
passively
Diana
didn't kill him.
didn't kill him.
Oh,
I
oh my God. This is girlfriend. Like she's
His
like
wife.
his
his
wife,
what?
yeah,
Oh,
his
even
wife, yeah.
better. Oh my God. He'd be divorced. She'd be
He
his
must have.
ex-wife.
I don't know how he did it.
I
I
don't know
don't
either.
even I
Yeah.
won't even attempt that because it's
No.
just so much time and dedication.
It's
Um,
it's a
I see
lot
something
of
with like 4 or 5 seasons in, like from the past that people tell me to watch. I'm like, I don't even
yeah,
think I can
no,
do this now.
I can't do
It's
that.
so hard.
Like certain shows like you can't make me watch a show if it's like more than like like even like anime. I won't watch a show if it's more than like 30 something episodes. Like I'll watch trying to think the longest show that I've watched like in terms of like a series. Yeah, I think it actually was Gundam. It actually was Gundam because I'm not
Yeah.
gonna watch something past like 50
yeah.
episodes like
But there's a
scoot.
structure. There's a structure to a lot of anime
Yeah.
and Gundam too, right? Like most anime will do like 50 episode
Mhm.
arcs where you have a full story within
Yeah.
that structure, right? Like
Because
Gundam
it's
Wing was 50 at 52 episodes, Gundam Seed was like around that same amount.
Yeah, because it's contained within a year. It's like, okay, 1 year, boom, we're done. Okay, take a year off. We'll work on the next one. Boom, 1 year, done. Take a year, move to the next one. Boom, 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 boom. And like, if anything, it's talking about Wing, because I was at Panda Hobby a few weeks ago, and and I was talking to like one of the customer reps, and he was saying that show, weirdly enough, nearly killed the Gundam franchise. And I'm like, are you serious? He's like, yeah,
Wow.
because it did terrible it was weird because it did terrible in Japan. Like no one likes the series,
Okay.
but it did extremely well in North America,
Yeah.
and they broke into that's how they broke into the market. So people are like, so that it saved the series, but it also did them a disservice where
That's
it's
so
like,
crazy.
yeah,
I find that so shocking to hear because like I grew up in the era watching YTV
oh yeah.
and I was watching
Hmm.
Dragon Ball, then Dragon Ball Z, Gundam Wing, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon. These
Yeah.
were all shows that I was watching in the 90s and Gundam
Yep.
Wing, I fucking loved Gundam Wing. And I will say I personally, this may be a hot take. I have no idea, but some of my favorite Gundam designs still to this day are in Gundam Wing.
They're iconic, especially the
They're
ones from the Endless Waltz, I think is one,
endless
the
waltz.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that, like the version of the Gundam Wing from that movie is absolutely gorgeous. It's beautiful. But it's you're right. Like I remember that one of the first Gundam anything that I bought was in I remember I was in kindergarten. It was a Talgeese from
Yeah,
the
the
Gundam
Talgies.
series,
Yeah.
like the little like grunt drones that they had. I'm like, and, like I remember that now, and I'm like, holy shit! Like I actually did have like this moment where you're like, it's so ingrained into your thing. But I think that's why a lot of people like really were pumped to see this movie because it's a part of a lot of their childhoods, and it's like, no, I'm so I want to go see this movie, and people went and saw it, and hopefully, you know, people up at Bandai and Sunrise, realize we can make a ton of money off of this if we continue it a little bit, maybe people get a bit upset and they try to bring back the original voice actors for the dub. Please, I'm just saying. I'm like, I don't know. I'm that's my that. I'm done. I'm done getting angry about it. It's
Well,
frustrating.
It's definitely weird to hear a voice that's not what you expect, especially if you've been watching it, right? Like it would be
Well,
I like
be like,
comparing. I like comparing
yeah, I
voices.
guess, yeah.
mhm,
Right. I like watching, like if I watch a show and I rewatch it again, sometimes I will try to watch it in either a dub or sub depending on what I watched the
Oh,
first
okay.
time and compare the
yeah,
voices based on like I can't watch Dragon Ball Z in Japanese. Like because I grew up watching it in
Yeah.
English. I watched the whole series in English.
yeah,
But there are certain, like vice versa, there are different series that I can't watch in one way or the other because I remember it a certain way. But I
mhm,
will compare, right? Like for example, like I watched Zom 100 recently, and I actually new series I will rotate between the two. I will watch one episode in English, one episode in Japanese, and I will jump back and forth. And personally, I actually prefer, like in some I prefer in one version or the other. Zom
Mhm.
100 I actually preferred in English because
mm,
the voice actors and the certain characters were more distinguishable
Mm.
in English. They actually did a
mhm,
really good job.
yeah,
And for example, there was one character in that show who actually, one girl who was actually British, but in the Japanese version, she's obviously, voice acted by a Japanese woman, and you can't
mhm,
tell the accent, obviously, because she's speaking Japanese. But in
yeah.
the English dub, she's speaking with a British accent. She's the only character
Oh,
that speaks with a British accent. So they did a
that's
good job with
amazing.
that. So I will always jump back and forth. So I'm very curious to, you making those comments, to look into that once it does
Yeah.
come out, if I
Mhm.
can watch it in English.
Yeah, I would see. I think there's actually some clips that I've gotten around. Like I think even like the first they did a release when they announced that they were gonna do a big they were doing these dates for the movie. They released the first 6 minutes, like that big battle scene that you guys were talking about. Like they released it in full English, and it's like, oh my God, like a lot of people. There's a
Mm.
lot of dislikes on
Oh,
that video
really?
because it's like they're not. They're like, are you kidding me? Is this how the names are said? Like, what's going on here? And it's just, oh God, like I am like, oh God, what did they get? What am I getting into? What's happening here? Like, I'll put it to you this way: the one of the I'm trying to remember when Gundam Seed was on YTV. It was 2004. And there was a show, Transformers Energon.
Energon.
I
Oh,
love the big bad
I love
robot
that.
shows.
I love
Clearly,
that.
you can get me talking about Power Rangers
Power
just on a
Rangers is a
whim.
staple.
Um, so the same voice actor who voiced one of the main robot characters in one of the main Autobots in Transformers Energon also voiced Kira. So like a lot of them they use the same a lot of they
Oh.
use the same company. So it's like, oh, I recognize that voice, and I'm
Mhm.
like, I never put two and two together. Now it's like, oh my God, like he almost sounds British in
Yeah,
this
okay.
movie, and I'm like, oh God, what happened here? What is this? But yeah, no, I lost. I was pretty upset by that when it like it was just a big voice change, and I'm like, but I understand it, but as a fan it hurts to like hear this change. So that's all I can like all I can say is this. It's like like you know what? It is what it is.
Yeah.
Like they didn't like change the movie too much. Like I don't think there was any like major like oh like he just disappeared. It's like no he's dead. Um yeah. I liked it. I would give it
Yeah.
like if I give it like a rating, I don't know if this show does like a rating scale of like A to F or 1 to 10 or very good to very dog shit. I would say give it a solid 8.5 out of 10.
8.5 out of
My
10.
opinion. I liked it.
Yeah.
I was very thoroughly impressed.
Same
Aside
here.
from those things.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
everyone
we
on the
should do it
team
again.
rates a little bit differently. Some critics rate out of 10, some out of 5. I rate out of 5. I would, put this 3.5, 4 out of 5,
Yeah, I think that's
for
Yeah,
fair.
myself. So between a
it's probably
7
the
and
same
an
as me.
8.
Yeah, I was gonna say like 7.5 out of 10 for me.
Okay, so
Like so yeah.
I think I'm being too generous then.
I'm also
I think I'm
new to
being
No,
it,
way
no,
so
too
no, no,
generous.
no.
no,
If
no,
you
no.
you
You're
have the
fine. You're
background
fine.
in the movie, so
You're
what's it
fine.
actually rated on? I haven't even checked the.
I think they gave it a B plus on
Uh,
Cinema
Yeah.
Score. Let me
oh yeah,
see.
okay, okay. Let's see.
Gundam Seed Freedom. It was given a one sec. Don't care, don't care. Okay, so it said Anime News Network gave it a B plus, praising the handling of Kira Yamato and Lacus Klein's characterization. Agreed. Very, I like that they kind of gave them a new dimension of like instead of, oh my God, Kira Lacus, or instead of Lacus. Wait, sorry, Lacus. While acknowledging the
Nice.
animation, especially the when mobile suits fight. However, the reviewer criticized the fan service to come across as divisive and not fitting previous television series. Hmm. Okay. Uh, I think it was, yeah, I mean, it's more or less stuff we've already talked about. Very
Yeah.
Yeah,
like there's a
exactly.
lot of like if you watch this show, you've seen it, Stefano, but if you've watched the show, James, there's a lot of like moments where it's like, wait a minute, like that literally happened in the show. Like what, like it's like
Oh,
it
okay.
literally like pulled like moments direct. There's a sequence, it's right in the final battle where
Yeah.
I forgot his name, Orphe, the lead
Orphe.
Accord, the lead Black Knight, and
Yep.
him and Kira are battling, and then like Kira's flying toward him with in like the mighty strike, and it's not CG, it's like hand drawn cell animation.
Right.
It the exact same shot is used at the end of Gundam Seed, where Kira is fighting the bad what's his name in the show? Rao Le Creuset, and
Right.
he's like in the same, literally in the same, almost like the
The
way
exact
he's
same pose.
yeah, the exact same pose.
Uh,
And it's like, are you kidding me? This is literally like you're just copy and pasting you're just copy and pasting stuff now at this point. It's like what's going on here? This is
Hmm.
that to me like I got a little bit frazzled by that. But at the same time I'm like, you know what? I get it. It's kind of like I feel like maybe it was meant like as a meta thing because that was a joke in the when Destiny was made is like you guys are basically just reusing a lot of the same shots from Gundam Seed again and again
Hmm.
and again. He's like, that's how Shin beat you, Kira. It's because like Shin just knows you do the exact same movements in every single thing. It's like you just reuse animation. It's like, oh, okay. Totally meta thing here. Not but I don't know.
I guess they do so many shots, and there's like even just seeing all the like cuts that happen for that. I feel like at some point there's gonna be over, there's gonna be the same shot probably pretty frequently. So they probably
Yeah.
reuse it. They shouldn't, obviously, but I'm sure there's instances where they're
Oh,
just like,
oh yeah.
whatever, let's
They
reuse it.
dude, and they cheat so much with that in anime. It's like,
Hmm.
how do you not? Like it's
Yeah.
It's
like
hard. You cut away so fast too, and then it's like, oh, it's just for a split couple seconds or whatever, and
Dude,
it's not like,
they do it in other series. They like totally recreate the exact same sequence in a whole. There was, oh my God, there's this YouTuber, what's his name? The Digino, and he's Canadian too, and he does Digimon content. For some
oh
reason,
yeah,
he's just been going through a whole Beyblade thing. Like, do you guys remember Beyblade
Oh,
from
I
yeah,
the
love
early
Beyblade.
2000s?
I love
yeah.
Beyblade.
This guy's been going through like each arc from the original series,
Wow.
and he was doing like they were talking about the America arc, and he's like, there you're showing these shot for shot comparisons between shot for shot between Neon Genesis Evangelion and Beyblade. And it's like they're the exact same, they're literally the exact same thing. It's like this person's up here and she's and they're talking down to their kid and they're on a whole lower platform, and it's like it's the exact same I'm like, are you this is straight up, this is blatant cheating right now. Like I'm like, this is amazing, but like at the same time, like you can't get away with that. You can't get
Yeah.
away with that anywhere else. But like in anime, it's fine. Like, yeah, we'll give you the pass. So
Just
I went to
inspiration. They're just
I
saying
went
it's
to go grab
inspiration.
my original.
oh my God.
I have the
Wow.
original series on DVD.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Staples.
Yeah.
That is hilarious. They have
Where'd you
like
even
the
find them now if you wanted to watch them? Like,
I even have Gundam Seed. Both the
are you serious?
Yeah.
nice.
You
I used to be heavy.
you got to give those to James. He's got to watch. Is
Yeah,
that
James.
like
Yeah, yeah. You can borrow these.
All right, all right. Good to know.
my
I
God.
have all 9 volumes
Wow.
of Naruto too.
Oh yeah,
Oh
okay,
my
okay.
God. The original series or Shippuden?
The original.
Oh man, dude, I didn't realize when I was like when I first watched Shippuden because I'm like, why does Naruto sound like a chick? And then I was watching the show on Disney Channel. What was it? It's called Lab Rats, and one of the characters sounded exactly like her. And then I just like tweeted about it, like, why does the principal from Lab Rats sound so much like Naruto? And then the creator responded, being like, because that is her. And I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
wait, are you
No way.
serious? I was tripping out. I'm like that, and like she liked the tweet. She's like, "Yep, it's true. I also voiced Naruto."
Yeah.
I'm like, "What the?"
Same
Still
with
the same.
Wow,
Ash
that's
Ketchum. Ash
crazy.
Ketchum is voiced by a girl too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
that
got
yeah.
the girl who took over from I forgot her original name, her original voice actress, Veronica Taylor. She was 18 years old when she was brought on to play Ash in like 2005. I'm like, that's
That's
insane.
crazy.
Wow.
I'm like, oh my
Wow.
God, I'm old now. I feel really I'm feeling aged right now in this moment. In this very moment, I'm feeling super aged. Yeah,
Crazy.
I don't know. That was another example of like when when the voice actors change and you're like, wait a minute, pause, what's going on here? Like I remember still watching it in like 2006 and I'm like, that's not Ash. What's going
Mm.
on here? And
Yeah.
then they're like, yeah, we changed the voice actors and blah blah blah. It's like, oh, that's cool. That's great. Yeah. No, I don't have much more to say. I mean, I loved the movie.
Yeah.
Again, very fan servicey. It definitely
Yeah.
was like more. It was a love letter to the franchise, love letter to the fans. I
Yeah.
bet if they did something where it was controversial, they knew it was gonna be a shit show. So, but I think now, like, if they were to do like a sequel series, push the buttons a little bit. Let's see, like, trust. Don't just be like, I want to do it for like a cash grab. Do it because it's a piece of art at the end of the day. Do something that's going
Exactly.
to be really, do
Hmm.
something that's going to be like that people are going to want people to go back and think, right? Like
Agreed.
the other Gundam movies, like Narrative, Gundam Unicorn, Awakening of the Trailblazer, F91 was fantastic. Even the one I mentioned before, Char's Counterattack, people go back to that and say it's, even though the ending was very controversial, still a fantastic movie beginning to end. Even the one they have on Netflix right now, Gundam Hathaway, incredible movie.
I haven't watched that
It's
one.
that one's awesome, dude. You got to check that one out.
I'll
Like
check it
it's
out for sure.
who's I'm trying to remember because we were just talking about Pokemon. Johnny Young Bosch. He
Okay.
voices he's the Black Ranger. James
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
like
Yeah,
yeah.
the
yeah.
Yeah,
second Black
he does
Ranger
a lot of
after.
voice
Yeah.
acting.
Yeah, his whole thing is voice acting
Yeah.
now. So like he never
Nice.
does he only does I think the only time he does like real acting is for Power Rangers. So
Right.
like it's like if I'm not doing Power Rangers, I'm
Just
doing
voice
voice
acting.
acting. And it's like vice versa. He's uh he voices the main character in that movie. Um yeah, like just it's always good to experiment. Like really like test the boundaries a little bit and like say, okay, like what can we do now with this? And it's always good to try something new, figure it out. Nothing's wrong with experimentation because
Yeah.
at least then you'll know if it worked or if it didn't. So,
Exactly.
and at worst place, 10 years later, people will love it and be like, "Oh my
Exactly.
God, I
That always
remember it." And then
happens.
you'll go through a whole TikTok resurgence and be
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Do you remember this?" And it's like everything's slowed down and shit. And it's like, ah, all right, this is yeah. But then you look back and like, okay, rose-colored glasses and whatever. Um, yeah, no, I don't have much more to say on this. I feel like
Let's
I've contributed.
What
I
was
have
your funniest part? The funniest
my
part for
funniest part.
you? Yeah,
Oh
in the
God.
movie. I
Um,
know mine for sure, but I'll let you guys say it first.
I think I would say the funniest portion of the movie for me was definitely like in the final battle when Shin was like soloing the rest of the Black Knights and they're trying to like mind wipe him and
Oh
there's
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
what's wrong with his mind? It's like he's not thinking at all. And I'm like that is the most meta
That was
shit that
yeah.
funny.
like
So funny.
it was the best. That to me was like the best moment of the entire movie like by far. Close second was like when Athrun was fighting Shura. And like he's like, I'm gonna try to, and he's like thinking of his girlfriend, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, that's awesome. And he's like smirking, like, oh yeah.
Yeah, it's my
Then
favorite
right
That
part.
was
after that
funny.
is,
That was yeah.
and
That was
then
hilarious to me. That one.
third was like the fist fight between Kira and Athrun, and then like Shin strikes us up, and they both just punch him
They
square in the
put yeah.
face. Like
Yeah.
it's like they were thinking for the fans in this moment, in that
That was
moment
good.
right there, because the Destiny fan base, the Gundam fan base in general hates Shin like with a bloody passion. He's like
Oh,
one of the
okay.
lead. He's one of the most hated like protagonists
I
in this
like
series.
Shin.
I did too. I
Yeah,
I
I like
love
Shin.
Shin as I love him as a character. I think he was meant to be like a reflection of trying to remember the character name, Camille, I think, from Gundam Zeta was the series. It was the
Oh, the
sequel to
Zeta,
Gundam.
yeah.
And like people hate him. They're like, "Oh, he's a jerk. He's like he's a dick. No one like." And there was like and people just he was essentially written off from the series. And whereas like Shin, like he got a whole like I loved how they dealt with Shin in this movie. They
Hmm.
finally gave him like he got to have like a really true by true redemption in so many little ways that was also like respectful to his character.
Hmm.
Like there was one thing actually a lot of people didn't pick this up. I didn't even notice it until someone brought it up to me. When he got his new machine like the Destiny at the end of the film, it's actually like like the horns on it were like gray. So
Yeah.
in
Okay.
the original series they're like a bright yellow because it was essentially like it was his own machine. Those that was done specifically as a reference to his friend who is one of the bad guys in Destiny. It was meant as as a tribute to Ray, and
Okay.
like
Okay.
no one knew that.
I
I was
didn't
like,
no idea.
yeah, there and like the gun he uses, that was the same gun used by the Legend, which was Ray's machine, and it's like, wow, like
Little Easter
these
eggs.
little yeah, the movie is especially the last battle is just filled with these little Easter eggs, these little like twinky little moments where they kind of just sprinkle them in, and you're like, oh, this is 100% happening. Like the like when Moog takes that blast, he just like what solos that blast from the Requiem.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
happened, James. That hasn't happened not once, not but twice in two separate series.
Oh, okay, okay.
So it's like, oh, it's happening again, where he's getting shot in the face again. So it's like, okay, yep, that happens. But what would you say? What was your favorite like moment, like in terms of like humor? Like, what was like your favorite funny part of the movie?
I think yeah, like you said, where he's thinking where he's thinking of like his girlfriend or whatever, and the giant like the giant Japanese woman on screen.
Oh
That
my
was
God.
funny. That was dying. It was or the theater was losing it too. It was so
Oh,
funny.
oh yeah. The best part
Um
was the girlfriend's like, what are you thinking of up there? What's going on? It's just like,
yeah.
oh, it's like even here in space, you're not getting away from the shots, man. You're going in the doghouse at the end of this. Oh my
Even
God.
just like the little like the little like parts of the like love triangle or whatever, just like
Oh.
where they see either where they like see them or where like the one guy would say something to like Lacus and then she'd
Mhm.
just be like, oh, or like just those little like those little reactions would fucking send me. It's so funny. I don't know
Oh
They're
my
why.
always so
God.
funny.
It's always just like yeah, or like he's watching them and he's like, oh, and it's just like all the different like little noises. I was fucking crying.
When
It's so
when female characters in anime get like really shy or like oh,
Yeah.
it's always
Yeah.
it
It
always makes
kills
me
me.
laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh my God. Or when they're doing like the oh hold on here. The
Yeah.
ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's so funny.
I
That was
only
good.
just recently learned what that meant. Like I was doing it at work and like I mean you know what I do, James, Stefano. So like I'm a teacher. So like I
Yeah.
was like explaining this to like my class, like, okay, like when angles touch, they do this. And they're like, sir, you need to stop doing that like right now. That is so gross. Like please stop. And I did not know why for the long and now it's like it's a running joke where I'm like, okay, guys, remember when angles touch? And they're like, ah. And it's like, you guys are disgusting, man. Like, even my principal's like, you got to stop doing that. Like, that is just so weird. That
That's
is
so
so
funny.
weird. Please stop. Okay.
Oh my God, that's funny.
What
That
what is your do you have a favorite Gundam?
growing my favorite one was the Freedom. Absolutely. It was always the
Freedom, yeah?
Freedom. I finally bought my own Freedom Gunpla actually like a few weeks ago. And what pissed me off was when they first did the showings of the movie at in New York and LA, they gave away like gunplas of like HG like Strike Freedoms, and I was
Oh,
like,
cool.
yo, I totally want to buy them because those are worth like $40 a piece, and I'm like, I would
Mhm.
totally like if I got to go get that for free and build it, absolutely. But no, they didn't give those away, which I was very unhappy about. But I'm pumped because the Mighty Strike looks absolutely gorgeous, and I'm definitely gonna be seeing if I can get myself a copy and build it once it comes out here. I know they said some point in the third quarter of the year, so probably like June of June or July of 2024, we'll say. But I mean, in some time shortly, we'll see it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm really pumped to pick one up for myself. What would you say was yours, Stefano, James?
Uh
Because I guess like you're still like, learning the machine's names,
Yeah,
but Stefano,
I'm
maybe you
not
can help
sure.
out.
I always like Gundams that stand out.
Mm,
And the Immortal Justice, its color palette
mm,
always stands out in battle for me.
yeah.
Um, one of my favorites has always been Heavy Arms.
Oh yeah, I see why.
Just because it just is just so overpowered and it just
Hmm.
shoots from everywhere, whereas
Yeah,
most Gundams have like a standard artillery,
yeah,
either like a big gun of some sort or some sort of wing flare that opens up
right.
and projects from the wings, the wingspan.
Mhm.
But the Heavy Arms just has artillery and basically all over itself, and its color palette as well, right? Like it being like an orangey color palette.
Well, yeah, that's a rare one. Like if you have something that's like not, it's very outside of the norm. Like there was a character in Destiny. What was his name? Hein. He had like the kind of like the bob cut. He looked like a
Yeah.
Karen. Like you think he would be like someone who's gonna call for the manager
Mhm.
at a supermarket if they got the wrong coupon. All of his machines were in orange. Like they actually released a custom Destiny in his colors a couple of years
Oh,
ago
that's
because
cool.
like the
Yeah.
in the show they were supposed to give him a Destiny as well, and they were only for like the elite members of the army. And like
Mm.
so Shin, it was like it was his, but it was really meant for everyone. So like he kind of was given this idea in his head, like, oh yeah, it's my own custom machine, but it really wasn't. What about you? I guess like we can like
I
walk you through it, and we can kind of
I was
like
just I
explain.
don't know. I just remember one of the characters that the one I don't know which one it was, but Atherin, I think Atherin, like
Yeah,
his was I thought his was cool. He looked cool. I
the
don't know which thing
was
he
it like the
has though.
big clunky one that looked like a Cyclops, or were you thinking, or the machine he keep boomed out of like an egg?
No, the bigger one, the bigger clunky one,
Oh,
I
the
think.
Zagok
Yeah,
is
is
what
that
it.
what it is? Is that
Yeah,
yeah.
it's called the Zagok. So that one, that that's a machine specifically from. So I'll give you this. So a lot of the machines, aside from the Gundams themselves,
Yeah.
they're called like grunt troopers. A lot of
Yeah.
those are just they always come from, they're all basically cut and pasted from the same series over and over and over again. So like
Okay.
Zaku's are from the original Gundam series. Same with like the trooper machines. Same with
Hmm.
the Zagok. Like the Zagok was one they haven't seen since, like, I think they haven't redone it in a long time. I don't even know the last time they did it in a series.
Okay.
So, and they were supposed to do it with an, and the whole premise with that was like that, how that thing worked with him, and like where his real machine was hiding within it, that came from a whole other series in the show.
Oh,
Like the
okay,
director was
okay.
like, I saw that, and he's like, I
Nice.
want to do that in my movie. So he's like,
Yeah.
okay, that's pretty cool. But no, that thing was sick. Like that was like people were like, you see him piloting things, like my the theater was cheering when they saw it. They're like, yeah, this is
Yeah, yeah.
Gawk. And I'm like, why do we like this thing? It looks so like stupid, but like I kind of like it
It's like a
too.
brute. It's like a big brute
Yeah.
like thing. That's why
It,
I thought it
it
was cool. Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, the
it's a
other
big
ones are more
bulky
like
thing.
streamlined, like
Hmm.
efficient for battle, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, and this one's just like, I'm just gonna hit you. I don't even. It's just like I'm just gonna fucking whack you.
Even like the foundation ones were pretty cool. Like the
Oh yeah, the Black Knights. That
Black
I think
Knights,
it's,
those were cool. Yeah, I like those ones too.
yeah,
Those are
Yeah, they were
nice.
those
nice. They were nice
they were
looking,
dope.
Yeah.
sleek.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Even like the new one, the white one at the end, that one looks really
Mm.
sick. I can
Hmm.
see people are gonna buy that one like hotcakes
Yeah.
off the shelves, but I don't
For
know.
sure. Yeah.
Nick, thank you for participating in this. Thank you for helping out. Thank you for providing the knowledge.
Yeah, it was
It was a
It was.
amazing.
blast, dude. Thank you.
We look forward to working with you some more. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah.